Assad, if he could, would take the Syrian Democratic Forces that have worked with us and destroy them. So I worry that the people who've been there for us are going to be exposed when we leave. And one of the conditions for our leaving should be taking care of them. And I don't see how we legitimately do that anytime soon. And when it comes to countering Iran, it's pretty much all talk and no real strategy to achieve that goal.
Senator, McConnell has just said in an interview that under no uncertain terms he is not bringing the Mueller protection bill to the floor. What's your reaction?
That's his decision to make. I don't believe Mr. Mueller's in jeopardy of being fired. I wanted to do some institutional protections for special counsels now and in the future, but I respect Mitch, and I'm going to vote in committee for the institutional protections. And again, I don't think Mueller's going to be fired, but that's my position. I'll leave it up to the Majority Leader how to run the floor.
Senator, so nothing in that briefing assuaged the concerns that you've been articulating for the past
Everything in that briefing made me more worried, not less. This makes no sense to me. I don't know how in the world we can destroy ISIL relying on local police in a country that's dominated by Assad. How do the local forces maintain themselves? Are you going to partition Syria? And so this idea of local forces being able to hold the ground taken back from ISIS makes no sense when the Iraqi army couldn't do it without our help in Mosul. And when it comes to the malign influence of Iran, that's a goal, but I don't see any effective strategy. Seems to me that we're willing to give Syria to Assad, Russia, and Iran, and we're trying to find some way to leave Syria to keep ISIL destroyed, and I just don't see how that works, and I hope I'm wrong, but I am very unnerved by what I hear and what I see, and I think President Trump's been a good commander-in-chief, but when it comes to Syria, I think he's going down a very dangerous path. We saw the same movie in Iraq. What makes you think you're going to have a different outcome in Syria? Because you just have a different presence. And this military strike, I compliment those who delivered the strike, but I think it was a small price for Assad, not a big price. I think Assad, after this strike, believes that we're all tweet and no action. I think Russia and Iran is pretty convinced that we will not engage them in any fashion, contest them in Syria. So it's just a matter of time till Assad rolls throughout the entire country. And that, to me, is a nightmare for Israel and us. I'm not talking about a large number of American troops. I'm not talking about invading Syria, and I keep hearing that. It kind of just gets old. I'm talking about a strategy that Senator McCain put on the table 6 years ago. No-fly zone, safe haven, so people in Syria can live without being barrel bombed, that people can be trained to take Assad on, then we go to Geneva. The only outcome to solve this problem in Syria is in Geneva. It's not on the battlefield. But to think that you have any leverage under the current construct is insane. Why would Russia, Iran, and Assad go to Geneva when they're winning on the battlefield uncontested? How can you protect the Syrian Democratic Forces through diplomacy alone? Do you think Turkey is going to be dissuaded from attacking the Kurds when we leave? Every indication is that Turkey sees the Kurdish forces we align with more threatening to Turkey than ISIS. If you don't believe me, ask the president of Turkey. So we've got an ally who sees the Kurds a bigger threat to them than ISIS. To assume that this conflict will not arise when we leave is really naive. You got Iran who's setting up shop in Syria. And the question I asked the general and Secretary Mattis is, why is Israel bombing so much? Because they see a buildup of Iranian Hezbollah influence, and they're having to do it by themselves. So thank you.
Senator, is the briefing over?